The dog days of summer saga rages on. Today, we discuss Alex Highsmith trade rumors. And will the Steelers pick up Najee Harris' fifth-year option next offseason? Big Deke news. So for these Highsmith trade rumors or trade talks, whatever you want to call them, it's just really proof that there's nothing else to talk about, so someone's just going to pull some bullshit out of thin air and make it up. But it's out there. Like, if you type in Highsmith trade rumors, it's there. That's why we're responding to it. There's headlines and articles. Just type it into Google. But, again, this is just further proof we're really in the dog days of summer because this is not happening, nor should it happen. The Steelers have Highsmith's rights for this upcoming season, but also the next 2 years after that due to franchise tags. And why would they want to move off of a guy that they've already talked about wanting to sign to an extension? I could see if there was hesitancy on the Steelers' behalf on giving Highsmith a multi-year deal, but that's not the case at all. They're trying to hammer out the deal probably as we speak. And you don't want to move off of a guy who is going to be Robin to TJ Watt's Batman, coming off of 14.5 sacks. He's still in his prime, plays a very integral position to the defense. So, like, it'd just be really foolish, in my opinion, if you're moving off of Highsmith. You have two edge rushers and a Highsmith and a TJ Watt. That spells a lot of trouble for opposing offenses. But also, let's just throw out the hypothetical if there were talks or the Steelers were open to trading Highsmith. Who do we need? If we were to trade Highsmith, the position that we would be then looking for is an elite edge rusher. I guess you could sell me on trading Highsmith for a franchise inside linebacker, but the likelihood of a team being willing to trade a franchise inside linebacker is just not there, because if you're moving off of a guy, I guess the example could be like the Ravens with Patrick Queen or the Bucks with Devin White. The reason they'd move off of those guys is because they want big contracts. So we'd be trading a guy we're about to give an extension to get another guy who we'd have to give that same money to anyway. And if you're doing all of that nonsense, I'd rather just pay the guy in-house and the guy playing the edge rush spot in Alex Highsmith. So no, this is not happening. Not entertaining this. Moving on. For the final topic on today's show, we're talking Najee Harris and whether or not the Steelers are going to sign him to a fifth-year option next offseason. Because you had Ray Fittipaldo, a Steelers insider on 93.7 The Fan, saying it is trending that way. Says right now, I think it's trending towards him getting it. Mike Tomlin really likes him. He named him a team captain last year. I think he's a well-respected guy within the locker room. The injuries happened early last season. I thought Najee turned it on late, finished really strong. So if he could do that over the course of a 17-game season, stay healthy, I think he can get 1,200 yards, another 300 to 400 in the passing game, and score 8 to 10 touchdowns. I think that'll be plenty to warrant $8.5 million in that final year. Yeah, I agree with everything he's saying here. I think Najee was playing really good towards the second half of last year. If he can stay healthy and play a full 17-game slate in 2023, I expect those type of stats and think we got the new revamped O-line. Pickett's going into his second year. The offense as a whole should be better. But then, yeah, Najee is going to be up for his fifth-year option. And I'd expect the Steelers to take that because I think 8.5 would be fair. And we'll be able to afford it still with Kenny Pickett still being on his rookie deal. And all the other young guys on offense, we still haven't had to give that second contract to just yet. I know Moot's going to be in the mix for that come next offseason. But Omar Khan's the numbers guy. He'll be able to make it work somehow, some way. Oh, the other thing as to why it makes sense for the Steelers too is I don't know if you decline a fifth-year option if you're able to still franchise tag someone, but that fifth-year option, if it is around 8.5, that would be less than what running back's franchise tag would be anyway. But also, you're pushing back that timeline of where you have to have conversations of a contract extension or doing the franchise tag for Najee. So all those reasons as to why it makes sense for the Steelers. But for Najee, I could see why you'd be a little bummed because now the fifth-year option isn't necessarily a running back thing, but for that running back position, man, you want as much guaranteed money up front, like as soon as possible, because we know how organizations and franchise treat that position. Once you're due for that second contract, they're going to either franchise tag you or be very hesitant to give you that multi-year big-time deal just because of the nature of the position. And I don't necessarily blame organizations for that either, because running backs, with all the touches that they get over their first like 2, 3, 4 seasons, that adds up. And typically, you know the stats, their play starts to decline whenever they get into their late 20s or 30s. But that's just around the time where they're set to make that second contract. They're set to make that extension, that multi-year deal. So from a business standpoint, it doesn't really add up, because you think whenever you pay a quarterback or your franchise quarterback that mega deal, you're getting another 10 or 15 years of like prime play out of these guys. Whereas with running backs, it's just simply not the case. I mean, we've witnessed it how many times? Just think of the old running back era of like the 2016s, the 2017s, where you had like Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, Zeke Elliott, who else? David Johnson. Guys are all out the league. I mean, Zeke's still there, but he's a free agent. Like, and there's kind of a reason he's a free agent. The Cowboys cut him. They've moved on. So, yeah, it's tough, man. I do appreciate what Najee brings to this team. I feel like, these next 2-3 years, depending on how he plays, is going to be really interesting in terms of how much money he gets and whatnot. Because you even heard him talk about whenever Dalvin Cook was cut, how he's not the biggest fan of how these running back contracts or just how running backs are dealt around the league.
Yeah.
I mean, they're longtime guys with their organizations playing the same position. Is it weird when you see those guys hit the market?
Yeah, especially, they say that when you turn a certain age, then you're out of your years of playing, which is crazy. You know what I mean? If you feel like you were able to play still, you know what I mean, then who is it for somebody else to say that you can't? Like, they don't know your body, neither have they been in your position. They're just people riding behind the internet. They don't know how you train. They don't know how you take care of your body. It's just people making assumptions, which they don't know nothing about. So to see people like that get released, like, it's, especially in my position, it's like, damn, what did they do? Is it because of their age or anything? Like, Dalvin Cook coming off of multiple 1,000-yard seasons. Like, what? I don't know. Is it money from the team? They got to pay somebody? I don't know. But, it's eye-opening for sure.
That's it for today's edition of Big Deke News. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts of the Highsmith trade talks or the trade rumor. I can't even take it seriously asking it. Would you entertain it if you were the GM? But also with Najee's fifth-year option, if you were the Steelers, would you pick it up? What type of stats do you think Najee has to have for it to be worthwhile for the Steelers to pick up? But also, how do you think the team is going to handle Najee and his contract situation as these years start to go by? But again, that's it. Enjoy your weekend. Stay chilling, and peace.